Hello, welcome to Snails and Fairy Dust. Today I have this really easy beaded bracelet project that you could use any sorts of beads you have lying around at home. This one I've used some accent beads of tiger's eye. In the first one I have some glass pearl beads. And in the purple one I have some faceted coral beads that I had lying around. I think this is a fun project to do with a friend. It's a great way to spend a summer afternoon sitting in a garden beading together. And it's really easy and fast. So grab a friend, grab your supplies, and let's get started with this. Okay, let's take a look at our supplies. I'm using a size 11 seed bead. My accent beads are 3 millimeter, but you could use all sorts of sizes. I have a size 12 beading needle, and I have 6 pound weight fire line is the beading thread I'm going to use today. I have these wire guards to use at the ends of the work. I have a little lobster claw for my clasp. And I have a bunch of jump rings, open and closed, just whichever ones I had lying around. And I'm going to use those to make a sort of extender clasp for the bracelet. I also have pliers to be able to open the jump rings. And that's it. So let's get started. To begin, I have about 5 feet of fire line here. And I'm going to pick up 8 seed beads and slide them down towards the end of my thread. So I have 8 beads there. We're going to slide them down. You want to leave about a 4-inch tail because we're going to use that later to add our clasp. And then I'm going to take my needle and bring it around and come all the way back through all of those beads so I can make a loop. So I pull that through and then sort of wiggle it until this loop forms. And then I want to go through that again. So with all of these loops, I'm going to go through them twice because it's a bracelet and a bracelet needs more durability, right? Because we're just using our hands all the time. So I'm going to go all the way back around those 8 beads until I end up back at the beginning. So just working my way through. There we go. I'm back at the start. And now you see you should have 2 beads on top, 2 beads to the left, 2 beads to the right, and 2 beads on the bottom. And now we're going to pick up our center bead. And the center bead is going to go through the top and it's going to split the 2 beads on the top. So in between the 2 beads on the top, and then you go through one of those beads. It doesn't matter whether it's the left or the right, but just in between the 2 top beads of this circle of 8. And there you go. You have your first little flower. And then for the next round, we're going to just pick up 6 beads because our 2 are already there. So we have 6 beads. I'm going to come around and come through the other side of those top 2 beads, opposite of where I exited, and then I form another loop. Now we have to go through that loop again. So I'm going to come all the way back around and just follow the same path to just reinforce this loop. So I'm going around the top 2. This just takes a second because you can't just put it straight through. You have to work around the circle. And when you get to the bottom of the circle, you want to come in between those bottom 2 beads like that. So split the 2 beads at the bottom. Your needle comes out in between those 2 bottom beads. And then you're going to pick up your center bead. And again, you want to split the 2 beads at the top and come through the center of the 2 top beads. And there you have your next flower. Hopefully you're getting the hang of this by now. So we're picking up another 6 beads. We're coming around, coming through the opposite of where we've just exited of those 2 beads. And then come all the way back around that circle again. And then when we get to the bottom of the circle, we are going to split those 2 bottom beads, come out of the center of those 2 beads. And then we pick up another bead for our center bead, split the top 2 beads, and exit. Okay, so now we have a nice 3 little daisies there. And now I'm going to add the accent bead. So I'm going to pick 6 beads, bring it around. We're doing the same exact thing. Loop right around that circle again. We're almost to the bottom. Here we are. We're splitting those bottom 2 beads. And now I'm going to pick up one of these coral beads. And I'm going to do the same thing, split the top 2 beads, get the coral bead into place. And the thing is with these bigger beads, it's going to sit on top. So you see one side is raised and the other side is not. So that the side that's raised will be the top of your bracelet. So you want to just make sure all of your accent beads are sitting on top of the same side. So you'll see when I'm doing this again, I'm going all the way around this loop, splitting. I'm going to split the bottom two beads here, pick up my accent bead, split the top two beads, and I'm just making sure the bead is on this side of my work. You see, because they're all going to sit on that side. There's like a front and a back to this bracelet. So I'm just going to keep working this, and I'll see you in a bit. Okay, so here we are. My thread is short. I just wanted to show you this quickly, what I do if I run out of thread, because this project does take quite a bit of thread, more than you would expect, because you are going through all of those circles twice. So basically, I am running my needle back through the beads, back and forth, weave it through. And I mean, obviously, the further the better. The further back you could weave it, the better, because it just gives you more strength for your bracelet overall. So I weave it back a few, and then what I do is I make a little knot on the side. So I put my needle underneath the thread, and before I pull it all the way through, I make a knot with my needle. So I do a couple of those and then keep weaving back in. It's good to not use your thread until you have nothing left to work with. You always want to make sure you have something to work with. Here's another knot I'm making, and now I'm feeling pretty secure, so I'll end this one soon. And then to start a new one, I do the same thing but in reverse. So start pretty far down your beadwork and then start weaving up, make a couple of knots here, making my first knot. And I'm just going to weave this down to the end until I exit where I would have been if I had just continued beading with the thread. Now, you may not run out of thread. So I do think if you're a beginner, it's better to start with a shorter thread so you don't end up getting sort of tangled up with it. But if you do run out of thread, it's not a big deal, and this is how you do it. So let's carry on. Here we are. I am adding my final rounds to the bracelet. And for this particular bracelet, I did 36 sets of flowers. So I don't know. You need to measure your own wrist of what you need. But for me, it was 36. And then I'm adding this thread guard now, which I will use to attach my lobster claw and my rings to be able to clip it to. So I bring the thread guard through one hole, the needle through one hole of the thread guard, and then I come down the other side. And then I'm going to go back through those top two beads, because I want to loop this around again to make it extra strong. So back up through the thread guard, back down through the other side of the thread guard, like so, and then back through those top two beads again. And now that should be pretty strong. And then we're just going to weave this thread end into the bracelet, just like we did before when we were adding and starting a new thread. And this one you want to just really, this is your final one, so go all out, put as many rounds in there as you can, and be sure to add a couple of knots. And there, now we have it on both ends. I've done that on both ends of the bracelet, and it's time to add our findings. So I am going to have this jump ring that's open, and I'm going to add it to the thread guard and then close it. Two pairs of pliers here. There we go. And then I'm going to add another one. I like to add 3 or 4 rings at the end of a bracelet just because sometimes you want your bracelet a bit tighter, sometimes you want it looser. Everyone has a slightly different wrist size. And when you're stacking bracelets, sometimes you want to be able to adjust where a bracelet lies in the stack on your arm. So there I have 3 rings. And then I'm going to do the other side. I add 1 open jump ring. And then I'm going to add my lobster claw clasp to that. There we go. Close that up. Never pull your jump ring apart, like from left to right. You always want to move it forward and backwards. And here we go. I have finished the bracelet. This is what she looks like. Super cute. I think it's a really, like, I hope you see this is a really easy project. Use whatever beads you have around. Do whatever designs, like get creative with it. And I hope you have fun and I hope you do it with a friend. Like, I think it's so much fun. I am going to do this with my 13-year-old daughter this weekend. I'm just trying to get her off of screens. And I think her friends will enjoy doing this when they come over. I mean, it's hard to find fun things for teenagers these days, but I think this will do it. I hope. Fingers crossed for me. I hope you had fun, and I'll see you soon. Bye.